I've really honestly moved past being upset with The Last Jedi. I have to, in order to continue loving a franchise that's very dear to me. But when a comic adaptation does things better than a movie, that gets me a tad upset.
You're fulfilling your destiny.
So right on schedule today, Disney released the first issue of The Last Jedi comic adaptation, which I didn't have real high hopes for, but I give all Star Wars comics a chance because there have been some fantastic ones. Imagine my surprise when I'm actually tearing up reading this issue. So this video, I want to cover The Last Jedi comic adaptation, issue 1, which covers all the way up to the First Order tracking the Resistance through hyperspace. Interestingly, though they added Han's funeral in the novelization, they left it out in the comic as well as the movie, which is a shame. It would have been nice to have some imagery of the funeral. But in a comic adaptation, you can't keep a lot of things from the movie, or rather the novel. What is also interesting is something they left out, which I'm actually happy they left out. The General Hugs bit.
Hi, I'm holding for General Hugs.
This is Hux.
And I'm all for comedy in Star Wars. There's always been comedy in Star Wars, just not that comedy. So the fact they put it in the movie and book but left it out in the comic makes me so happy. And honestly, it makes the scene a lot smoother. Poe just goes right into taking out cannons and the bombers approaching. Also, I love that Kennedy openly expresses his dislike of Hux, although I still don't like Hux being made a tool in this movie. And not a scary tool, but, you know, just a regular tool. Next, Luke's inner thoughts in the comics about the Force are amazing to read, especially when he's talking about the darker and frightening secrets of the Force he was never told. This line was so good. A secret never told to eager young Padawans by their masters, nor to me by mine, even as they trained me, molded me into a weapon to confront and destroy their greatest enemy, my father. Luke has some hardcore bitterness, and honestly, it was a bit scummy how Obi-Wan handled the whole Vader thing with Luke. Kind of a dick move. We see in this issue, it is incredibly difficult to keep the Force away from him. And it is still there even when he gives his greatest effort to shut it out. The Force still manages to give him messages from time to time. Now what really got me, and I'll admit I got teared up over, was how Luke responded to Han's death in the comic. It was handled so poorly in the movie, and I know I'm going to get a lot of backlash for saying this. It was disrespectful how they treated Han's death in The Last Jedi. I understand it's a fantasy series. It was disrespectful. So when this scene happens, we see in the comic Luke is so upset that he didn't feel his friend passing because he chose to be closed off from the Force. He clenches his hand into a fist and his anguish pours out of him, shaking and lifting the things around him. The amount of raw emotion on this page kills me. What also kills me is seeing Chewbacca go to Luke to embrace him, to help him through his feelings of loss. Being held by the Wookiee, Luke tells him, it's alright. Would that seriously have been that much to add into the film? Fuck, they were friends that saved the galaxy together. We know that you had a scene showing Luke showing emotion, but you chose to make that a deleted scene. Because you can't sell crying Luke dolls, but you can sell porgs. Another thing they improve on is the Snoke-Kylo dialogue. In the comics, Snoke calls Kylo out on his BS when he says that he killed Han Solo and didn't hesitate. Snoke responds, "Did you think I was not watching? I see everything. And I saw you struggle to find the strength to do it. Felt the conflict, the weakness within you." This line is also important because it lends more to the theory that Snoke has always been in Kylo's mind, watching and influencing. I mean, we have some pretty serious hints that Snoke has been in Kylo's mind since he was in Leia's womb. Now that Snoke is gone and Kylo, perhaps for the first time in his life, doesn't have someone up in his mind, maybe planting ideas and suggestions, what kind of man is he going to be? Oh, and when Kylo freaks out on Snoke, look at those eyes. His face very much so reminds me of Anakin freaking out, especially after Snoke tells him that Vader would be ashamed of him, and he turns away. Those are some scary faces. So even if you hated The Last Jedi, I would say give the comic adaptation a try. At least the first issue is really good, and I feel like presents the movie in a different way that's better in my opinion. And even if you're one of those people that say you're never going to give Disney another dollar, there are other ways to get this comic. Thanks so much for watching. Please like the video and subscribe for more Star Wars videos.